Okay, well, if you have been following real close, now the verse from Job is going to be able to fulfill what you're seeing here. Who can loose the bands of Orion? Who can loose the bands of the spider? We already saw that Orion was the spider, all the way back to Nazca, Peru. And then we see that even a spider in nature has the symbol for Orion on it. I mean, talk about the fractal being fulfilled as above, so too below. From nature to the cosmos, to the symbolism of the occult, to the biblical description. I mean, the whole thing. It all locks together as one thing, telling you the same story. So who can loose the bands of Orion is also what we've known to become as this matrix that we're in, this spider's web. And they've got to destroy this present system. But once this present system is destroyed, that we're in, that we're trapped in the bands of Orion, then we see the battalion of Orion, who is also known as the bands. Now, who is the army of Orion? Well, that's the sons of God of Genesis 6. That's right. The sons of God of Genesis 6 are now these Danites that are prophesied in the last days, who you see recorded in the Bible have already fallen to the occult worship of this very same Queen of Heaven, who's being symbolized all the way now at this point as a spider. She's seduced them, and then they use the image of Eve, the symbology of Eve in the material version of this to try to seduce mankind. But at spiritual spider is what is deceiving these very high sons of God at this time. So she weaves the spider's web even by the use of them. But at the same time, she's entrapping them in that. Now think about the pharaohs of ancient Egypt. The pharaohs of ancient Egypt were doing what? To achieve immortality. And they believed that this immortality was going to be in a flesh body still. Well, it sounds exactly like the trick that the elites or the New Agers, the Satanists, are trying to tell us. They're trying to say, yeah, you're going to become a god in the flesh. Wrong. Ancient Egypt fell to the same thing. They misinterpreted this understanding and went as far to entomb themselves in the flesh, wrapped like a spider's cocoon. Think that's any accident? Fulfills the fractal. They were cocooning themselves because they believed that they would one time rise again in material bodies, in flesh form. And all this was related to what? Pyramids. And then the underworld right up under these pyramids. Think about all this. Think about all this. Their interpretation is virtually the same interpretation of what the kings of the earth are thinking now. And we can see that it failed then, it's going to fail now. It's just now seeing in a different reflection of our age and our intellectuality. Our dimensional perception is more advanced, more expanded. There's more details. So when you look now into the past, armed with the understanding of exactly what was going on, you see the reflection in the mirror in the future that's all around us. It's the same thing. So they think they're going to achieve this immortality by taking this occultic knowledge, mastering this DNA, who Dan is going to prove itself to be the master, the living master of the DNA. The enlightened ones, as they appear with their third eye fully opened in their illumination, and then they're going to represent that DNA, that crossing of the genes between the two creatures, the mortal and the immortal, the dark and the light, the good and the bad. Think about it. And then all of this can begin to finally make sense. Just real quick here, where do you think the symbol for this heart comes from that everybody, thinks is a harmless symbol? And it is, really. None of these symbols are anything until you put the intent behind it. But you see, this is where the intent comes from. This heart symbol represents the rising of the Kundalini serpent. It represents the DNA, the spiral path of the serpent. As it comes together, then it forms this shape here of the heart. I'll be back.